Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com. Imagine you're here with me in Tenerife in the Canary Islands making picture of this landscape, birds, flying birds, goats. There are some goats, wild goats in the day, and then you realize that close to you there are some plants, there are some spiders, webs, insects, and you feel like making these pictures, okay? Well, this is exactly what many wildlife and nature photographers have been asking to OM System for a long time. Give us a pro level macro lens. Well, today OM System is presenting the 90mm 3.5 with image stabilization, pro level quality, everything you can dream of. So we're going to speak about it. So let's start. I've got a good and bad news. Well, the bad news is that despite Mark Thakara, I don't know how you said, the director of marketing for Europe, I always have his business card with me, allowed me to have all the information. I participate in the video conference to have all the input before the launch of the lens. It was impossible to get it in time. He promised I would get it soon, okay? But still, I think it's important to tell what are the specs, okay? But also my impression, but not just about the lens, about the way OM System is moving onto its future regarding photography and OM System users, okay? So we're going to speak about this in detail. I will also show you documentation, photography they passed me, so I can show it, but they are not pictures I've made myself, okay? No problem with that, but we'll make another video when I get it, no problem. Sometimes I've got the feeling there is some kind of superior being that actually observe what I say, and we're going to demonstrate is right. And then it started to rain so strong I had to get into the car. And yeah, so I'm not going to follow the order I had. I'm going to speak here about weather sealing and weatherproof and dustproof. Well, this lens is weatherproof, IP53, so splash proof, rain and dust. So this is important when you're in this kind of situation. You don't want to gear to be ruined, okay? And second, it's also weatherproof, temperature proof, -10 degrees Celsius or 14 Fahrenheit. Many people ask, yeah, but if I go lower than 10 degrees, it will not work. Yes, it will, but probably slower, okay? Any camera, when they tell you the minimum is 5 degrees, 10 degrees, -10, whatever. If you go lower than this, the battery doesn't last that long, but and the autofocus may be slower, but the camera still work, okay? In this case, well, down to -10 degrees, it works smoothly. Lower than this, it will work, but maybe not as fast, okay? But it works, okay? So that was not the order, but still the opportunity to speak about this. Let's carry on. And by the way, if you want to see the video when I test the lens myself, and I've got other lenses, I've got the 60mm macro, I've got the 8-25, many other lenses I want to present on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to it and then activate the small bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you. So let's carry on. So OM System had already two macro lenses, the 30mm 3.5 and the 60mm 2.8. Actually, I have the 60mm, which is a fantastic lens. But it was time to respond to many people asking for something longer with this 90mm 3.5 macro stabilized and pro level. This gives the equivalent of 180mm in full frame, and the fantastic thing is the magnification is 2 times. It means that my 60mm is 1:1, okay? This is 2:1. It means you get really larger thing. But also it is compatible with the MC 2.0 and the MC 1.4. It means you can have 4 times multiplication, magnification, okay? And this is fantastic for many photographers who want to get really close or larger thing. So this is really, that helps a lot. That gives the possibility not to be using extension ring and things like this. This is great, okay? And the fact that this is a micro four third has 2 big advantages. First, you can focus a lot closer. Second, you don't have that much problem with shallow depth of field. Well, you can have, but I mean, 180mm on full frame is such a thin, shallow depth of field that is sometimes a nightmare. You have to do focus stacking always if you want really to see a bit more than just spot of the eye of a fly, okay? It's a really hard work, okay? So the fact you have this Micro Four Thirds gives you a bit more depth of field. Sometimes you will still do focus stacking, okay? So it's great to use it on the OM1 because it's really, or any other OM system camera, okay? But it really works fine together, okay? So that's great to sometimes not to have to do it, okay? So this is fantastic for me. The fact that it is stabilized is a big plus. The big problem with a lot of magnification when you do macro is that the slightest move from the photographer and you're out. It's not blurred. It's just not there anymore. Okay, so it's important to have a great stabilization. Of course, the body already helped, but in this case, combined with the IBIS of the camera, you get 7 stops. It means in many situations you will not have to use a tripod, or you don't want to use it, and this is fantastic because yeah, if you've done some macro photography, you know what I'm speaking about. Fantastic point. The weight is 453 grams, and the size, the filter thread diameter is 62 millimeter, and the length of the lens is 136 millimeter. The weight is really important, 453 grams. It means that combined with the OM1, with the weight is around 1 kilo. If we look at the competition, the lightest combination with a 90 millimeter, don't even speak about a 180 millimeter, with a 90 millimeter is 1.3 kilos. So you already save 300 grams with a length that is, compared to full frame, twice the length, okay? If you, the focal length, okay? The result will be twice, okay? So this is really a good point. If we speak about the optics, they have 18 elements in 13 groups. I'm not an expert in optics, but I can say they have several elements that are a special treatment prepared against chromatic aberration, which is really important when you do macro photography. And they have the zero system, which is an anti-flare, anti-reflection system. Zero, it stands for, I can't remember what it stands for. It's not zero the number, but they play with that, okay? But it means there is a special treatment, so you will not have flare. And this is really important. When you do a landscape, having flare sometimes is nice, but when you do macro photography, you don't want to have a ray of light that crosses over the insect and you cannot see the insect anymore, or you lose contrast or whatever. So it's really important. And also, I was speaking when you do outdoor macro, yeah, but when you do indoor or with control situation with flash unit, normally macro flash are really close to the lens. It means that it's possible to get some kind of flare or problems or things like this. So it is really good that they worked on that to get really the sharpest and the most contrasty situation despite having side lights or things like this. Okay, really good. The autofocus, they say it is ultra fast, and yes, we need that. Why? Because when you're indoor making picture, maybe with a tripod, doesn't really matter, maybe you use manual mode, doesn't matter. But let's say you're outdoor like today, you have a spider on its web, and it's windy, and it's moving. To catch this in manual focusing, it's crazy. So you need a really fast autofocus. So I've not tested it, but if it's true what they say, this is something people were begging for. When you do an outdoor macro, having a fast autofocus is really useful. The front lens has a special treatment with fluorine. What is that? Well, it's repellent for dust and water. So very often when you do macro, you're close to the floor, or you among herbs and plants, and it's really easy to get dust on it, or a drop of rain or drop of water. So the fact that it repels it, or it's easy to clean, that's really a big plus. Okay, so good point. Now let's look at the physical lens. It has everything a pro lens has. Well, most of OM system pro lens have this. You have a macro, and if we compare with the other macro, which is not pro, you have focusing limits. You can actually limit the range of the macro. It means of the autofocus. It means it will not be searching and hunting in areas where there's nothing to hunt. You can specify from where to where it should actually try to focus. So good point. Second, you have this wonderful clutch for the autofocus to go on manual focus. On the lens, you have a ring. If you pull it back, then you go on manual focusing. Actually, many people who've bought a Pro lens for the first time. Oh, sun is back. Okay, but I finish here. Okay. Many people who've bought a Pro lens, they accidentally pull the ring and they don't understand why the autofocus doesn't work anymore. Yeah, because you've moved onto manual. Okay, so that's great to have this. Then you have a function button, the LNF button, which is really useful also because you can configure as you want. You could put like stop the focusing, or put pass on to focus stacking, for example, whatever. I don't know what this one can, but normally you can assign anything you want to your function button. So it's good you have one on the lens itself. Then, thank you so much for being Pro. They include the sunshade. With my 60mm, I had to buy it separately. In this case, as a Pro lens, it is included. So good news. So I think if we look at the technical specs, they will put everything on their website. So not much else to say. And about the picture I've shown, they're not mine. I really want to try it, but I'm going to give my opinion about the situation, about this lens, and about what OM System is doing. First, the Pro. I think the big pro is because being Micro Four Thirds is a big help in macro photography. Honestly, I think people, when they try macro photography with a Micro Four Thirds, this is a joy, because the control depth of field is so much easier, Then the fact that is weather, and also the point that you can focus closer is good also. Weather sealed, fantastic. The IBIS is on the camera, but the image stabilization on the lens, fantastic. And the fact that it is thought for OM System body, that really helps. I mean, the weight combines with stabilization together, and also the focus stacking, if you wanted to activate it, this is fantastic. This is really good. But then we get to a point that some people will say, wow, it's a price. How much does it cost? But there's a reason for this price. If we look at sterling pound, 1299. If we look at euros, 1499, and same thing in US dollars. So many people will say, whoa, that's a steep price. But yeah, but we have to think about the situation. What is this lens for? Who is it for? For many years, many people have been overlooking Micro Four Thirds, or directly spitting on it. And for many people, it was like for amateur or people with a low budget, or yeah, any bullshit they would say, just to justify not buying this or not recommending Micro Four Thirds. But then some pro and top level photographers started to use this kind of system. They started to use Micro Four Thirds, they started to love it, to have great results, and prove that it is a system that is as good as any other, and in many situations it is better. Okay, but they prove that pro photographer and advanced amateur are using this system. The fact that so many people bought the 150 to 400 millimeter telelens, which is really top range, prove that some people have interest. And actually you realize that if you compare to their brother in full frame, it is cheaper. The equivalent in this massive telelens is in Nikon or Canon is twice the price. And you realize that these people, they not just look for price. Normally they look for weight, for size, to be able to work for hours with that kind of gear, something they could not do with heavier gear. So Micro Four Thirds is a big plus, and many pro have proved that it's fine. Okay, so if we look at this lens, is it expensive? No, it is money. That doesn't mean it is expensive. Okay, if you compare to a 180 millimeter in Nikon, in Canon, reflex probably, I don't know if they've issued one in mirrorless, it's cheaper. Okay, it's cheaper. So people who are going to buy this are people who can justify buying it, or because they can afford it and they want to enjoy it, that's it, or professional who make money with it, so they justify it. But still, if you cannot afford it, that's not a problem. There is a 60 millimeter that I have for people who don't want to spend that much money, and it's fine. You can use an extension tube in some situation to get more magnification, all this. Ideally, this one is probably fantastic for these people who can afford it and can use it and will enjoy it, okay? But still, I think in this situation, OM system is answering the market. People who said yes to Micro Four Thirds with OM system, but please give me top level gear. And they keep issuing new top level gear. That doesn't mean they stop selling the rest. That is still okay, that is fantastic and is affordable, okay, for most people, okay? So I think on paper, this lens is completely recommendable. I hope I will get it soon so I can actually use it, show you the result, enjoy it, and we'll see. So thank you so much, Mark, for sending me all this information in time to present it on the launch day. I hope you will send me the lens as soon as possible. Thank you to you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Small button and here's a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. Also leave your links of my gear on Amazon, links of everything I reviewed by K&F Concept, Sandmarc, and Flashes by Westcott, and other affiliated links, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.